So, as we're progressing here in chapter 7, and we're learning kind of the ins and outs of networks, right? We've got what kinds of network equipment are there? What kinds of networking radios do you have on your different devices? How many different devices you have, that rely on network components, and all of that is well and good. But I think a little bit more practically than that. The question I think we should be answering here, aside from what is a network, I mean, that's clearly important too. But the question we should be asking for you so that you can get more utility and use out of an experience like this is, what can I be doing to secure my networks? So, what I have here is a reasonable facsimile of something that you would see most likely in the settings of your router at home. Now, it is impossible for me to tell you without actually seeing your router, without actually seeing your home network equipment, whatever different pieces of equipment that might be. It would be impossible for me to generalize this away. So, what I've selected here, and we're here on the home network security setup demo page, and this is here alongside of your session material for chapter 7. What we've got here is a link to the basic setup for the most popular router, and the most popular router that's been derived into a million other very, very popular routers. So the one I have here is called a Linksys WRT54G. This particular wireless router sold more copies than any other particular piece of home networking equipment ever. And it was so popular that they baked this setup system, or something very, very similar to it, into just about every router moving forward. So, though I understand completely that you do not have this particular router, this one is a little bit older than most of your networking equipment is liable to be. It's certainly older than the networking equipment I have here at home is, but I'll tell you, even for me, somebody who has run wireless networks, wired networks, uh, 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 you know, larger metropolitan access networks, um, I don't do a bunch of crazy stuff with my network at home. As a matter of fact, for the most part, I do these 5 things that I am going to tell you about and walk you through in this particular demo. If you do these things to your home wireless network, these 5 things, if this was a BuzzFeed article, I feel like I should have led with that. We'll learn how to change your router password. We'll learn how to change your router's name. We will change the wireless network's name. We will change your wireless network's password, and we will change your SSID, that is your individual wireless network's ID, from broadcast to hidden. And that is it. Now, is that safe enough for me? Yeah, it is. Is that safe enough for you, probably at home? Yes, it is. Is this good enough if we were to be doing a complicated network where I have, you know, uh, healthcare records, banking records, things of that nature? Nah, it's not going to go quite that far. But this is guaranteed to be a notch up of the security that you use already in your home network, and just about guarantee you, network safety at home. So click through right here. You can scroll down here in this list. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to dig for your exact router if you have one. If not, you can click here and follow along with the basic setup that I have for, again, the ancient WRT54G. But the things we do here will absolutely positively map to any router it is that you probably have at home. So you would click through right here to see what I am seeing right here. Now, the very first thing we have to change is the router name. So when you rent a piece of equipment from your internet service provider, that's just rolling off a factory shelf someplace. And it doesn't take a lot of deduction to figure out, hey, if I want to break into a Spectrum wireless network, I know that this is the kind of router, of modem it is that they are going to use. And the name is going to be exactly the way it rolled off the factory shelf. So if we change this, that's already removing that one ease of insecurity away from a bot that's out there channeling through the internet to do this. So router name doesn't matter what you choose. I'm going to go with router McRouteface because why not? If it's good enough for ocean going vessels, it's good enough for our router name here today. And changing this one setting is going to go ahead and remove one of the easiest ways for a bot to gain access to your network. So that's number one. We have changed the router name. Number two, we have to change the router's password. For that, we go over here to administration. And here you can see the password. Now, I have my Mac in front of me. I have the password suggestions turned on through Safari. And this works okay as long as all of your devices are connected together. So if you do this in Chrome, if you do this in Safari, if you do this in um, Edge, the Microsoft product, if you do this in Firefox, that's all fine. Just make sure you have access to those passwords offline as well, because one day you're going to need to come back in here because you don't have internet. And if you don't have internet, you don't have access potentially to those passwords. So that's something you're going to want to make sure. Now, I could use the strong password here, and you can see by the preview below there is going to be a gnarly password. Not only is it going to be difficult for a bot to remember, or to crack rather, it's going to be very, very difficult for me to remember. Now, I like to say, if somebody has access to your router, they have access to your home, they are inside of your house, and you have bigger fish to fry than worrying about somebody gaining access to the password that you have on your router. I say pick a weird password, something you'll maybe not remember, put it on a sticky note and tape that sticky note to your router, because it's not that big a deal. Or when it becomes a big deal, you got other big deals to worry about, like how the hell did you get in my house? And that's a bigger problem than your router password is going to be. So we've already changed the router's name. We just changed the router password. It doesn't have to be this gnarly password. You could really use something that you haven't used before, but something that you'll remember. Maybe not necessarily router McRouteface, but something along those lines. So that's 2 out of 5 that we've already changed, and the rest of them we get here through wireless. So first and foremost, we've got here our network name. So we don't want to use whatever came with the factory. When I used to live in an apartment, or when my wife had her condo, or, as I'm visiting people, invariably you can look at your phone and you can see that huge long list of open or available wireless networks. And some of them, clearly you don't want to use, your last name, because that's a pretty dead giveaway what wireless network this is. So you don't also want to remember, that weird name that your router gives you by default, because you're not going to remember that. So just pick something of value to you that you'll remember. It doesn't have to be anything sensible. It can just be something that you'll remember being able to connect to. So I'm going to say RVC is, look at that, the name of our wireless network. I'll remember this, but it's not something that's, associated automatically with this piece of equipment as it rolls off the factory floor. Number 5 on our list over there was wireless SSID broadcast. So what this means when we say disable, What this means is when you look at your list of available wireless networks on your desktop, on your laptop, on your tablet, on your smartphone, this is not going to be there. This does not disable the wireless radio, it just disables its availability in those lists. So essentially, you have to know that this is here. Now, you could actually stop right here. I don't suggest that you do. Most of your connected devices will not like this if you do, but like here at my household, I actually have two networks. I have the one that all of my stuff is connected to, and then because my house is the one in the middle where everybody is closest to, they come to my house when we have football games. They come to my house when we do barbecues with the family. They come to my house and eat my food when we do things, with friends. So I have an open and available wireless network for them that does not have a password, because otherwise, what's the point of having a password if I just have to give it out to everybody who comes here? So I tell them to join this other network. They're online. They don't need a password, and it's not very secure, but it's not insecure because there's nobody who has access to it. So I could stop right here, but I'm not going to. The very last piece of procedure that we would give to you here is to come under the wireless security um, settings list, and what you'll pick is WPA or WPA2 Personal. And essentially what this means is you have to have a password on there. Your shared key is your password. Most newer routers have foregone this very technical sounding shared key term, and they just use password because it's a home router. I don't need, the highbrow, essentially medical term for password is a WPA shared key. So whether or not you pick WPA2 or WPA Personal, either one of those is fine. WPA2 is better. That's an 8-character or better password. And just pick a password rather that you are going to remember. Again, this doesn't have to be whatever your personal password is. As a matter of fact, it's best if it's not. It should be something that's easy to type, easy to remember, and it's going to be secure, because by now we've already done the other 4 of the 5 things we need to secure our wireless network. We have, and just for completeness, they're back here on our home network security demo page. We've got them here. Change your router password, change your router name, change your wireless network name, change your wireless network password. That's the very last thing we just did there. And number 5 is stop broadcasting your SSID. Don't let others know that there's a network here and available for them. If you do those things, those incredibly simple things, you are going to give to yourself a layer of protection on your home wireless network that otherwise you would not have had you kept the default settings. And frankly, all of these security breaches that you read about or hear about that we've highlighted here in class, all of those were from low-hanging fruit. Default password, default username, default network name, I can get in there. You change any of these, it makes it difficult. You change all of these, it makes it not worth even bothering trying to break into your network. So those 5 easy changes on your wireless router or your modem and router, depending on whatever kind of equipment it is you got from your internet service provider or that you bought on top of the equipment that you have from your internet service provider. Those 5 things are going to net you a tremendous amount of added security in your home wireless network.